Today, we're talking to YouTuber, founder, creator, and investor Daniel Pronk. Daniel's story is one of true grit and self belief, and he's going to share how he went from a regional photography gig to a $1.8 million valuation from YCombinator and over 193,000 subscribers on YouTube. His story does not follow a straight path, and it comes with many ups and downs. I think Daniel's journey highlights a few crucial messages that we as entrepreneurs should always keep in mind. I'm your host, Matthew.
And I'm your co-host, Nick. Welcome back to Founder Framework. We break down the success of distinguished entrepreneurs to uncover how you can replicate their success.
Here, you'll receive actionable insights that will guide you to your dream business, project, and lifestyle. Now, let's get into the podcast. So we're here with Daniel Pronk, the famous investing YouTuber and founder of Stock and Lock. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. Hopefully we're going to learn a lot about your journey, where you've been, where you are now, how you got there. Of course, the frameworks that got you to where you are, if that's something you utilize. But let's start off with you telling us about yourself.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction, Matt. So I'm a long-term investor. I have a YouTube channel on YouTube, obviously. And recently I created this platform called Stock and Lock with a couple of software engineers that's dedicated to teaching people about investing and doing in-depth stock analysis. And yeah, how I got here, I guess. I just started making YouTube videos on investing and, the investments that I was seeing and the investments that I was doing and my investment theses. And then out of nowhere, my channel just started taking off. Was not expecting that at all. I have no background in investing or financials or anything like that. I'm just passionate about investing and financial literacy and all that. And I read a ton of books. I'm always reading about it. So I basically was just sharing my knowledge out there for everyone, the people. And I guess that just attracted a lot of similar minded people looking to learn about investing and, fundamental analysis. And as I said, my channel just kind of took off. Very blessed, very fortunate, very thankful, feeling a little bit lucky, to be honest. I think there was a little bit of luck in that equation, or a lot of luck, and just happy to be here.
I mean, yeah, I think they say that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So it's a lot of your credit that you were able to capitalize on what you saw and, the insane growth that seems to have come out of nowhere, but I'm sure there was a big reason for why it all happened. And yeah, it's interesting you say, perhaps you may not have had previous professional experience in the finance industry, but we're in an age where social media, different platforms allow us to just kind of share our opinions and see what sticks. And at the end of the day, it's about whether or not, you can pick good stocks and make good money. And so obviously you've done that for a period where you're able to build that following.
I completely agree with Matt. I'm just wondering what led you to create your first YouTube video, and why posting on YouTube if you weren't so confident, or what gave you the confidence to rather even post your first YouTube video?
Yeah, so not a lot of people know this, but I started YouTube not as a financial channel. I always kind of wanted to be like a YouTuber. I thought that it was interesting to make videos, and I enjoyed making videos. So I started making vlogs, actually, and they were awful. They make me cringe so much. They're private. They're there, but they're private. No one can see them. And yes, that's how I started. And then I made my own business with my brother in Calgary. It was called Calgary Pixels, and we were doing photography. That business started taking off. We did that for a couple of years, and I got some more money in my account, and I was like, well, I kind of want to invest this. I don't want my money just really sitting here. That's when I got into investing, and I just thought, hey, I think that this stock looks really cool. I think there's a cool opportunity here. I'm just going to make a video about the research that I did. I didn't even know that YouTubers did this, because back then, I don't think there was a lot of channels that even were in the stock space at that point, 2.5 years ago.
Well, why don't you first give us, sorry to interrupt, but why don't you give us a little timeline as you're telling this development? So I guess when the photography business started, when it started taking off, the vlogs, your first, YouTube video on investing and this stock in particular, how many years ago were all these things, if you can remember?
All right. Yeah. I started my photography business in summer of 2018, and then we shut it down from the pandemic. So because of COVID, we actually had to shut it down. It basically killed our business. So, but during near the end, so I would say June 2019 is when I made my first investing video. And that's when I was still running my business, and I was kind of doing both at the same time. And then when we shut down my photography business, I went all in on YouTube. And like lucky, like this is why I say I got really lucky, because like when I shut down my photography business was like at the exact same time as my YouTube channel took off. So it just worked out really well for me. But yeah, that's kind of the timeline.
That's a lot of work ethic to be able to juggle both those two projects you have going on simultaneously. Do you have something to like talk about what it was like trying to juggle both a business and trying to create a YouTube channel, or was it like an on-off switch, instantaneous moment for you?
No, it was a lot of work. Back then, I didn't have a girlfriend or anything, and I was just like really focused on making something work and like building a career and getting some money and everything. So I was just working all day. Like I would just work, come home, get home at like 7 p.m. and then just like pump out a quick YouTube video. And I would just be working till like 11 p.m. at night pretty much every night.
Not the most glamorous sounding, would you say? Or like I guess it sounds as if there's a lot of effort to be inputted. And the reward factor for you was what was the motivation behind that to go through all that hard work and to push through?
Yeah, the motivation, I guess. Well, a lot of it was just like I actually wanted to get away from my photography business because I started not enjoying it. And I saw YouTube as like, there was just something inside of me that was like, you can do YouTube. Like, I know you can. You just got to stick it out. I know it's going to suck. Because in the beginning, like before you hit 1,000 subscribers, it takes a long time to get there usually. And you don't make any money. It's all just work, no money. You're not seeing any returns. Your friends are calling you stupid. Like, no one's believing in you and everything. And it's just like, you kind of just gotta. I actually didn't tell people before my channel hit 10,000 subscribers unless they found me on their own because I was embarrassed. But I guess it comes down to like I just believed in myself and I believed that I could do it, and I just stuck with it. Like when I started YouTube, I was like, "You're gonna do this for 2 years consistently, even if you're not seeing any progress. Just do it. Give it 2 years and see what happens." And then luckily, like 8 months later, my channel really started taking off.
So you start with the photography business, then literally the definition of when one door closes, another opens. That happens to you, and you took advantage of it. It sounds like you said you went all in YouTube, but if you didn't know people did investing videos, if it was your first time doing one, kind of almost sounds like on a whim. How did you have the conviction to go all in to YouTube? Like, what was your plan? What made you believe that it would be worth going all in?
At the point that I made the switch, my YouTube channel was actually already generating more than my business was. So at that point, it was like, there's a really clear opportunity here. Like when I made my first investment video, I had no idea. I was just kind of like throwing darts at a board, like what's going to stick? What are people resonating with? And then like the investment videos kind of performed better. So then I started veering more towards that. But when I actually made the switch, my YouTube channel already was bringing in some income. Nothing like crazy, but enough for me to live off of. So the transition was actually pretty good.
And just to confirm for our audience here, by this time, this was already like a fully, was it primarily investing by the time you made the switch?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was. I would say by like November 2019, I was a fully investment channel.
Cool. So it sounds like you found something that you were interested in yourself and just decided to post it into a YouTube channel that was a mix between your blog life and some finance and what you're interested in terms of securities. And then you realized that, oh, there's an audience for this. Maybe people are interested in listening to me talk about this, and you just grew it from there with the pure sheer willpower and perseverance. Man, that's such a heroic story.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
No, if you think about it, I think it's pretty heroic of a story you have there.
So I guess at that point, you're saying YouTube was making more than your previous business. Where was that money coming from? If you don't mind me asking, if you're willing to share, like, was that through AdSense, which is, for those who don't know, getting paid on YouTube ads, or was it related to your Discord community that you would soon start? Can you walk us through like what the decision was? Be like, you know what, I'm committing to this. It's almost like quitting your day job to pursue a startup, right? Like, how do you make that decision, and where were the numbers coming from that made you believe that was the right thing to do?
So my YouTube income at that point was all AdSense. I wasn't doing any brand deals. I didn't start my Discord and my Patreon for quite a while, actually. So yeah, it was all YouTube AdSense, and like I'm sure as you know, Matt, it's pretty volatile income.
Yes.
It bounces around everywhere.
Yes.
But yeah, as I said earlier, like I just didn't really want to do my photography business anymore. And like with the pandemic starting, when everything was shut down, like I was a real estate photographer, and real estate just like stopped moving for a minute.
Yep.
So I didn't really have work. I didn't really want to do it. So me and my brother kind of just came to the conclusion like this is probably a good time to just call it quits.
Hmm.
And then at that point, YouTube was already generating me income. So I was just like, well, this is already making pretty much more than my business. I can live off this income, so I'm just gonna go all in.
Wow.
It was it was like a few different factors that kind of just worked out perfectly in the end.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just how it plays out. And again, it's like those who take advantage of it are able to execute on it, right? Like ideas, opportunities are a dime a dozen, maybe not opportunities, but how far can you take it? And that's what really matters. So I understand that from what I understand, Stock and Lock and YouTube kind of Discord community, they're a little bit intertwined in terms of how everything played out. So could you walk us through, the development of your Discord? What kind of, I guess, from an entrepreneurial lens, what did you learn? Community management, lessons, takeaways from doing a business like that, which in itself is also can be volatile when it's so highly correlated. Like, at least I run a similar business right now, and I can tell you our revenue is very highly correlated to the performance of a certain group of stocks, right? So when your revenue is so highly correlated to something external that's out of your control, how do you run a business like that? So I just threw a lot at you, but yeah, let's start there.
Okay, so I was hesitant to start a Discord community if I'm being honest, because in the stock niche, like if you want to start a Discord community, you kind of have to be like willing to share your portfolio and all of your buys and sells. And I'm kind of a private guy. I don't really like having all that information out in the open. But then I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to start one. So I started one, and it went well, as you said. Like as the stock market was doing well, more and more people came, income was growing, everything was going great. But after the growth and speculative stock crash that started in February of 2021, like YouTube revenue and Discord revenue has just been on a slow decline pretty much month after month after month, as you said, correlated to the stock market performance. That's been kind of interesting to watch. I don't really have any other input there. And eventually I actually did start, I removed sharing my portfolio and all of my buys and sells because it was adding stress to me. Like what I was initially worried about when I started my Discord kind of caught up to me when the stock market kind of started going down. And then that's when I realized like, yeah, this is too much of my personal information that I just don't want on the internet. So I actually rolled back a little bit and stopped sharing all that information.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely tough, when you're basically, depending on how you set up your Discord, a lot of them are basically set up to be like, okay, either you make a great trade, make everyone money, or if you don't, there's no reason for them to stay and they leave. So like creator businesses, a lot of times they say is like an inverse pyramid. Like a traditional business would be like a regular pyramid where you have C-suite on top, then like maybe VPs and then middle management, and then everyone at the bottom, entry level workers. And you can like if you remove one person from the bottom of the typical pyramid, like entry level worker, that's okay. The pyramid can still stand structurally. If you remove someone from the C-suite on top, pyramid can still replace them, stand structurally. But in a creator business, similar to like a stock market Discord, it's an inverse pyramid where the point of the pyramid is actually at the bottom. And that's where the creator sits. So if you remove that creator, or in this case, if you remove, a hot streak of stock picks, then everything that's built upon it kind of has to come crumbling down. Not to be too dramatic, but that is kind of how it plays out. So go ahead, Nick.
Do you have any advices to people watching out there about impact in terms of being pressured by people to do things? Because this speaks a lot to how anybody can actually deal with problems, right? People have expectations of you, and I think oftentimes how you handle them best speaks to who you really are. So in terms of handling that entire situation of being able to withdraw back your holds, how has that impacted your view of how you should maybe change different ways of approaching your customer base or your audience, or thinking about how it might change how, I guess, people might perceive you?
I did worry about how it would look, but it was something I had to do. Like, it was taking such a toll on my mental health. As I said, I'm a very private person, and I was reluctant to even start sharing that in the first place. So when the stock market kind of started going bad, it like really took a toll on me, and like it got to a point where it was unhealthy. Like I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything. I was straight up like I was just depressed. So it was actually something like I needed to do for myself. And even though a lot of people left my Discord and maybe I rubbed some people the wrong way, it's like for my own health, I just absolutely had to do it, and I don't regret it. It's been like my work ethic, my life, my relationships, everything else has prospered since that decision. So it was the right decision. And my advice to anyone would just be like, you got to make decisions that you feel comfortable with. Because I know Matt shares his portfolio, for example, and like what I'm comfortable with, what Matt is comfortable with, can be two different things, and that's totally fine. And like you just got to stay in your lane and like what's best for you.
Hmm.
And just don't do anything that you're not totally comfortable with.
So how do you weigh something like that? I agree. Like health should always come first, but obviously that's a big attraction to your business. So say someone has a business that they're running, and like their main source of revenue or main marketing point or value prop, whatever it is tied to something that's causing them like a lot of stress, maybe emotionally, or even like God forbid physically. Like how do you weigh that as a business owner or entrepreneur? How do you make that decision? What was like the process that you went through in saying yes, this is the right thing for me to do right now, if you're willing to share?
It came down for me to like making a list of what I valued most in life. Like, do I value money most? Do I value my relationships most? My health? Like, what is that structure like? And for me, it was health, relationships, like with my girlfriend and my family and my friends, and then basically being financially secure. But the health and the relationships came first. So if my business is harming my health and harming my relationships and putting strain on my relationships, then yeah, I got to fix something about that. So that's why for me, I felt like it was the right choice.
I think that speaks large volumes in terms of just having your priorities straight, realizing that you yourself understands how you feel in a mental state, and like even in your relationships, as you mentioned, and making sure that those are all healthy before you actually bring yourself into pursuing what you want to do. That really helps in basically grounding yourself and setting that foundation that we always talk about. So, I mean, that's great to hear and it was cool to hear through your story and how it's impacted you.
Yeah, and like I will say that after I made this decision and like I started feeling better mentally and like my relationships got better again, my business has started growing again. So even like in a business sense, I think making that pivot actually is going to help me long term. And also, like I'm not against anyone sharing their portfolios. I totally get it and I actually like appreciate it. But I also kind of feel like I was noticing in my Discord, if I did a buy or a sell or I made a move, I noticed a lot of people just kind of like copy it without thinking. And when you're investing, like what I do in my portfolio and my position sizing is based on my personal conviction, like my level of risk and what my investing goals are. And that is totally unique to me. Like what I am doing is not what anyone else should be doing.
Yep.
And a stock that I hold may not fit the goals and the risk tolerance of someone else. So I was seeing a lot of people buy like a more speculative stock that I owned a very small position in, but they would go like all in,
Mm.
and then the stock wouldn't do well, and then yeah, it was just bad. I was getting a lot of bad messages, and I was just like, I actually don't think in my situation this is what's best for even my audience at this point because people
Mm.
aren't actually learning investing; they're just trying to copy, and I don't think that's best.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think at investor community as well, like I recognize that I don't want people to just copy what I do. I want them to be here to learn. And
Hmm.
I think, sharing trades can actually be a distraction to that. Your customer, your audience in that business, your clients could be there, for one reason or another, and you can't really tell which one it is. And so I think it's interesting you say that, you know, it actually helped your business in the long term. So when you say your business, are you referring to the Patreon and Discord and revenue there, or are you referring to Stock Unlock, which we'll talk about in just a second here?
I would say Patreon and YouTube. Like it's like it like went down, and then once I started like feeling really good again, now everything is like slowly coming back up, and like everything is starting to uptrend again. And yeah, so like it's starting to grow again. Things aren't going down anymore. So the business is, yeah, that's what I mean.
And ironically, what your business used to be so correlated to, the market, has had one of the worst starts to a year in a very long time. Yet your business is starting to uptrend again. So you were able to break that correlation by making a decision that might have been counterintuitive and remove one of your main value propositions. And so do you think that's a reflection of a shift in what you offer, or like messaging, or the business model? Or is that a shift in you as the creator and founder?
I would say a factor of everything a little bit. What I offer now is a little bit different, so people aren't joining my Discord anymore just to like get stock tips or buy and sell alerts or whatever. Like my marketing has shifted to like long-term investing and like joining a community of long-term investors instead of just like, again, getting those buy and sell recommendations. So I think that demographic of people who want to join the Patreon and Discord are a little bit more sticky, and they'll be around for the long term. So basically my churn rate, I think, has slowed down. And then I forget what else I was going to say.
No problem.
It's okay. I mean, if you wouldn't mind me making a few observations here, I feel as if there's a lot of things in common with you and almost every founder that we might talk to, whether we've talked to them now or in the future. That their business, you have to, at the end of the day, that the dreams that you follow and the passion that you have is going to experience a lot of volatile challenges, right? Sometimes they are just out of your control, right? And I think you executed a really, really good point where you had to ground yourself, right? You grounded yourself by making sure that you yourself were okay first. You made sure, okay, how am I feeling? My emotions are in check. How are my relationships with the people I care about the most? Okay, that's in check, right? Being grounded as a founder and as a person that wants to go and basically create things that they want to do is a very important trait to have in order to actually weather that volatility, since we're talking about the market so much, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the key things that I really admire that you brought up today when we're talking about this.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so to recap and kind of like summarize and put a pin in your YouTube journey and the Discord and Patreon and everything, kind of putting on like a founder's hat now instead of like a YouTuber or an investor's hat. What were some like the key business lessons that you've learned from YouTube and Discord, whether it's creating or the community management, and also your photography business, to go back all the way to the beginning? So like from the two businesses we've talked about that you've started so far, what were the key things that you took away from a business lens?
Number one is you have to believe in yourself. Like if you don't believe in yourself, then you'll just never try. And like, if you don't genuinely believe that you're capable of starting this business or achieving your goals, and like as soon as you hit an obstacle or a wall, you're just going to give up. So you have to believe in yourself enough to like get over all of those obstacles and just continue going. And when you face one, just be like, okay, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this one? Because there's going to be a lot. And yeah, as a founder, like, you face a lot of difficulties, and you just got to adapt and keep pushing.
So what does that look like when you believe in yourself? What do you mean? Like, what does your self-talk look like? What are you reaffirming, and how do you believe in yourself?
I would just say, in my own experience, like when people don't believe in you, or if people are kind of talking behind your back and everything, just ignore it. Like if you have a vision and you know that you can achieve this, then like other people's negative opinions just don't weigh you down. They don't hold you back, and you can just keep going. Because I've had people pretty close to me in my life, try and tell me that everything I'm doing is crazy. And I just keep going. I just kept going. Yeah. And it just worked out. So, yeah.
So how do you know when to listen and when not to listen? Especially if it's someone close to you,
I just in my personal experience again, it was just like I had a gut feeling that was like, I know I can do this. I just I just know I can do it.
Let me find one of those guts as well. Where can I find one? It's
It's just
like
it's just I don't know. I don't know. That's just me being honest. I had this feeling like I could do it, and if someone told me
Yeah.
otherwise, it was just like you're wrong.
I mean, I mean that's fair enough. I'm sure that's something a lot of entrepreneurs have in common. Like a lot of people say that entrepreneurs are risk takers, but I think it's more that entrepreneurs are optimists, not so much risk takers. Like entrepreneurs are very calculated risk takers, but they're very optimistic as well. And I think that's kind of where that comes into play.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I had someone really close to me when I started my photography business, and they said, like 90% of small businesses fail, right? And I said, yes. And they're like, so you're still gonna try this and like put all your money into it? And I was like, yes. Because
Yeah.
I also have this mindset where it's like, I would rather try something and fail than like not try at all and always wonder for the rest of my life, like what would have happened if, you just like took that risk or just tried and just like took a shot on yourself.
Yeah.
So like when I'm 80 looking back on my life, I want to look back and be like, okay, I took those risks. I failed at this. I didn't fail at that. This worked out. This is the lesson I learned, and like have those experiences rather than just like playing it safe and
Yeah.
wondering.
do you think that 90 percentile? Do you think it's a function of actual failure, or people unwilling to try, or yeah, unwilling to try?
I don't know. I Probably a mixture.
That's fair. Because I mean, people throw stats around all the time. It's like, oh yeah, 3 out of 10 businesses fail, or there's only like 3 out of 10 businesses in North America that actually pass some mark or what have you. And to be honest, perfectly honest, I think we're in an environment today where becoming self-found and becoming this individualized person that can create something on their own is more possible than ever. I think that statistic is slowly changing. I'm hearing different numbers from everybody now, and the only thing that's changed is our accessibility to the internet, right? To this amazing, I guess, network of people, and being able to utilize it is a skill in and of itself. And to add to that, I don't just think that being a founder is just about keep going at it. I think being a founder is being a good problem solver, personally at least. Being able to solve problems and tackle challenges as they come at you, and just being that person that says, yes, I can solve this, that's no problem, right? And having that mentality going forward and pushing through and applying what you know to solve the problem that's in front of you is how you're going to get through each day. So
Yeah,
just a
I would
little bit
totally
of,
I
yeah.
would totally agree with that because you face a lot of problems.
All right. With that said, let's jump on to what you're working on now, which is Stock Unlock. So you've gone through memory lane with us on your last two main ventures. I believe you're still running the Discord and Patreon, as you said. So how did Stock Unlock come about? What's the idea? Tell us about what you're working on.
Yeah, so it kind of has a funny story. So as we know by now, I make YouTube videos about stocks and everything. And there was a guy that watched my channel. His name is Jake Ruth, and he is a software engineer. And he was watching my videos, and he was like, "I think I can save Daniel so much time if I just like write this simple program for him." So he started like writing this software, this program that like builds spreadsheets on financial data, like fundamental data. And he was just like emailing me every week for like 3 months with his progress.
You got to share this with me sometime.
Yeah, it and this guy
It
was
exists,
just
Nick. Stockunlock.com, right?
Right?
yeah, it's changed a little bit, but this like initial thing was crazy. And yeah, so he was like literally emailing me, sending me Instagram DMs, like commenting on my videos, like you need to respond to me for like 3 months. And then I finally responded to him, and yeah, he thinks he's like a stalker. He thinks like I should have called the authorities on him and everything, but it's all good. So I ended up taking a meeting with this guy, a Zoom meeting, and I low key was like, this guy's making some really good progress and
Yeah.
sounds incredibly intelligent with software engineering. And then through talking to him and getting to know him more, I was like, we both kind of decided that we could like actually make a whole stock analysis and like financial education platform. Because in my own stock analysis, I kind of realized like I need to have subscriptions to so many different websites to get a piece of information here, a piece of information here, and it just kind of seems like a waste of money. So Stock Unlock initially started as this idea to like consolidate everything an investor actually needs to know into like one platform and make it just cheaper than everything else. Not cheaper, more well priced than everything else.
Nice, nice.
That's the lingo I'm supposed to use.
Right. No, but it's true, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then like we just have this huge passion for actually teaching people about financial literacy and investing. So from the get-go, we've focused heavily on actually teaching people like how to invest and what everything actually means, because a lot of other platforms will just throw all this data at you and you have no idea what you're looking at or like how to read it or anything. So we break everything down for our users and explain, what is a balance sheet, what is revenue, what is gross profit, operating income, like everything. And yeah, so we're just heavily focused on educating as well as like providing awesome tools. And it's been working. People are loving it. So we're getting a lot of good feedback, and it's just been fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've checked out. I think I checked out the beta when before you guys had launched, and it looked amazing. And you're right. Like, I should have prefaced this by saying you guys have received funding from YCombinator, also known as YC, one of the most well-known and impressive accelerators in the world, which has invested in some of the biggest companies today. So huge congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, seriously. And but I think you're right. Like, as someone who also researches stocks a lot, and Nick does as well, there are a lot of different services out there, but you need to use a bit of all of them to get the whole picture. And each one has a subscription plan. And Stock Unlock is probably like, it sounds like you're telling me to say this. I'm not saying this. Like, Stock Unlock is actually way more affordable than all of them and literally has everything. I'm honestly surprised why no one else has built something like this. Perhaps they have, but you have the edge of being a creator as well and being able to just get in front of 10, 20,000 people just like that, right? And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more later as well. But I think it's also maybe like the incumbents, if you will, or like the existing softwares just got comfortable. They're like, okay, we specialize in this and everyone seems to be happy with our price. Like, we don't really have to innovate. It's like kind of like adapt or die,
Exactly. And like small startups, like our team isn't that big right now. Like, we can add features and make changes so quick. Like, since we launched on December 11th, we've already added so many features, and like we have a pipeline of features that are coming that is just like huge. And we're not seeing any other platform move this quickly, and it's like just because we're still small and agile. So it like yeah, it's just going to be sweet what we have coming.
But I also want to go back to this stalker, or Jake Ruth, because we can't just glance over that. So, I mean, a lot of people listening to this might be a Jake instead of the Daniel, right? And they might have this amazing idea, like, and one that you obviously amplified and really brought to the masses, but he messaged you for 3 months straight. Most people wouldn't send more than 2 to 3 emails. So sometimes that's what it takes, and what was it that finally made you say, fine, I'll get in a freaking call with this guy?
It was just like whenever I checked my email, he would always be near the top. And I was like, who is this guy? And then one of his emails, I think the headline was just like, I'm making progress or something. So like I finally clicked on it and like, it was like a storybook, man. This guy had so much in his email. It kind of like, someone might think that's kind of creepy, but to me, I was like, this is kind of impressive. Like, the level of dedication this guy has right now is impressive.
Yep.
And now that I've actually gone on and started a company with him, like, that level of persistence and dedication has only accelerated, I would say. So it's been a good choice.
Yeah.
What made you feel as if this was worth going into? So we talked about his dedication to you, right? Other than that, I mean, what was it a moment where you were like, oh wow, when you open that email, the first email that you've opened from him in 3 months, you're like, oh wow, he has everything together, and it was that wow moment. or was it like, were you sort of unsure at the time? Because oftentimes when you hear about, I guess in this case, you're almost like an investor, right? You think about it from an investor standpoint, and you'd be like, okay. Did you feel like this was a huge opportunity on your hands, or did you feel like you still had to flush it out a little bit there?
I definitely still have to flush it out. I mean, at the beginning, I just saw it as something that could genuinely save me time, like a lot of time. So I was just interested in like my own use case on my channel and everything. But after getting to know him and just like building it out more, we kind of just got talking and we were like, we could actually make something really cool. So we just kept going, and here we are.
That sounds like the most smooth sailing volatility I've ever heard from a founder. I think it's a marvel that everything clicks so well between you two, and I'm very impressed and proud. I on the side on my other screen, I am stalking your stock unlock, so you might have found yourself another stalker. but I am just by looking at this, I mean, it looks like you guys have come a very, very far way in terms of putting something together. Can you tell us a little bit about the process and like about the very early days of what it was like, and what challenges might you have faced when trying to put something like this together?
The biggest challenge, well, at every stage there was kind of different challenges. Like right away, our challenge was just trying to get like decent data, because good fundamental data costs a lot of money. So like when you're building a product like that, and it has no revenue, you're just building a prototype, you kind of have to think like, how much money do you want to invest in this right now? And yeah, at the beginning, our data just sucked, to be honest with you. Before we launched to the public and like even had a demo, the data was just awful. So finding new data and like getting new data that works was challenging. And then
The
as
most challenging
time,
aspect.
yeah, at the beginning at least. And then as time went on, right now our biggest challenge is like, one, having enough time to build all the features we want to build, because like we have so much, and then prioritizing which features come next. Like taking a look at all the things we want to do and trying to prioritize what's best and like what order to go in is really challenging.
It sounds like you have a resource shortage on your hand, and that's why you were able to go through Y Combinator, right?
Yes.
I feel like as if all the problems you were trying to solve basically required more capital, right? And then I guess this would be a great segue into that process and that story of your adventure in YC, and how you actually raised and pitched, and that entire adventure, I guess.
Yeah, so I should first say that we now have a third founder. His name is Nick, and he worked with Jake as a software engineer, so he came on the team to try and boost our resources. We're still short, but that's helping out. Nick is a great guy too. Didn't stalk me though. But yeah, so Y Combinator actually reached out to Nick, and they were like, "Hey, we see you're working on this thing. We think it's cool. You guys should apply for YC." Now, me being a Canadian, I actually didn't know what YC was. I had no idea. So when they reached out to me, or maybe I'm just in the dark, I have no idea, to be honest. I just didn't know of them. So when they reached out, I was kind of like, cool, these people are like contacting us, sweet. I didn't really think too much of it. So we sent in our application, we went through that process, and then they actually like took on an interview. So we did a first interview, got to talking to them, and then they took on a second interview. And after the second interview, they just accepted us. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere, man. It was like they approached us, we went through the interview process, and we got accepted.
I'm getting goosebumps for you right now, because for those of you that don't know who YC is and what YC does, they literally have started one of the biggest companies in the world. And for them to approach a founder, typically the process is reversed. Founders have to pitch themselves to YC. So Daniel has done a phenomenal job in creating this product, basically off of necessity, right? And the best ideas come from necessity. I'm actually like getting shivers and goosebumps. That's such a cool story.
Yeah, that's what I mean, man. There's a part of me that's like, am I just getting stupid lucky throughout my whole life? I don't know. I don't know, man.
I think it's a bit of hard work. I think your attitude has allowed you to enter so many different endeavors, right? the keep going. You would have never had your first email stalker if you've never posted your investments consistently, right? And that's just the function of opportunities open the door when you're not looking for them, right? And oftentimes, sometimes maybe you have to zoom out a little bit and just take a deep breath and be like, hey, what are my options like?
I think it's, yeah, no problem. I think it's also a little bit of just following, as cliche as it sounds, following what you're passionate about. Like, think about, why did you make your first ever investing video? Because you were curious about investing, realized you really liked it, wanted to share it with people, and that turned into a massively successful YouTube channel. And then you wanted to help long-term investors, so you created a community. And then through that community, or I guess Jake sounds like he was a viewer as well, but I assume he's probably also in the community. You were able to find Jake, and through working with Jake, you were able to make a successful amount of progress. And why did you work so hard with Jake? Because it was a tool for investing, something you were passionate about. And like, if you were building a similar tool in a different industry, it might be a very different story, right? And because you're putting in so much hard work, you're able to bring on other people like Nick. And then the stars just align sometimes. But to get there, like, you had to follow a certain path. So you can call it luck. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but what stage were you guys at when you were accepted into Y Combinator, and how long did it take you to go from the idea to launch?
The stage we were at when we got into Y Combinator, we were in our demo stage. So we had a demo. We were working with my Discord community. We had about 200 people on the demo testing it with us and like building features for them. And that's when we got approached by YC. And like, we were initially planning to launch at the end of 2021. So like January 1st around there, we were planning to launch. But once we got into YC, they were kind of like, okay, first, we were kind of delaying our launch. Like, as a founder, I kind of noticed I kind of wanted to make the product perfect before just shipping it. So we just kept delaying launch, finding a new problem. Let's solve this first, then let's launch. Then we got into YC, and they were like, why haven't you guys launched yet? So we basically launched as quickly as we possibly could after getting into YC.
Yeah. It's the whole idea of like the MVP, right? And just shipping out a product like you said, as soon as you possibly can, just letting the users tell you where to go instead of just trying to assume that you know what the users want. Because why spend another 2 weeks working on this feature when the user might not even ever use it or want it, right? Allow yourself to get pulled, basically. I think that's something that you guys have done so well in utilizing your own Discord community, a bunch of investors, to give you feedback on Stock Unlock. It's like a perfect scenario where you don't have to go out and try and get users to give you feedback. They're literally right there, and they all have already bought into your brand, and they're going to give you the best feedback possible because they want to contribute to you and bring value to you because you've already brought value to them in the form of YouTube videos and the community and all of that. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's been incredible, man. Like, the amount of, not just like the amount of feedback, but the effort and like the depth of the feedback that we've received has just been like absolutely incredible. Like, I honestly cannot thank these people enough. They are spending so much time writing these emails out. Like, I am getting like novels of feedback. It's just incredible, man.
Yeah, no, that sounds like you have a very supportive community base, which is always a perk being a content creator. So after YC pushed you guys to launch, was that their only recommendation? Did they pose any challenges for you, or like did they give you like, hey, this is your to-do list, you need to do this, and by this timeline? Like, what was that experience like, actually going through that entire boot camp phase?
So I'm not good with legalities, so I actually don't know how much I can say. So I'm going to take the safe route and just not say that much. Yeah,
Sure.
Please.
What I will say is that it's like, you still own your company, and it's still very much so founder-led. Like, you're still in control, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What was can you talk about boot camp a little bit, or did you guys go through that? Did you go through it remotely? Do they have like an educational, like, I think they usually have like a 10-week kind of boot camp where they just teach you everything about startups, or was that not quite your experience?
You do go through a boot camp. Again, I don't know how much I can say.
Oh, you can't talk about the boot camp. Okay.
I don't know.
No problem.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. As I said, I'm not good with legalities. I don't know what I
Yeah.
can
No.
actually
No.
say
No
here.
worries. No worries. Not worth it.
Industry
go through
secrets.
I did go
Yeah.
through a boot camp though. I did.
Okay. If
And it was
anyone's
amazing.
interested, Y Combinator has posted like a bunch of lectures from a boot camp, I think in 2018, and I've been watching a lot of those in my free time. They're super good.
It is similar like that. It's a lot of lectures. I just don't know if I can say like who's giving them. It's all remote now.
Sure. Yeah.
They'll probably post it in the future though. What I'm watching.
Awesome. Okay. So then I was gonna ask about the investment itself, but it sounds like
think-
that might be hard to get information on.
No, I think
Or
I
you
can
left-
talk about that because it's public. Like how they invest is public. So
Okay.
their typical investment is $125,000 for 7% of your company. They don't talk about valuation. They don't argue about valuation. There's no negotiating. It's just a flat. That's what they do. And then this year, my batch. This is another crazy story, man. So my batch was the first batch that they ever. Not that they ever, but it's the first batch where they've upped their initial investment to 500,000. So instead of getting 125,000, they upped it to 500K. And so
For the same 7%.
it's not the same 7%. How it works is the 125K is for 7%. And then when we go on in the future to raise money, let's say we raise money let's say we raise money, got hopefully at like a $10 million valuation one day in the future, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the valuation we raise at next, their money will convert. So if we raise it at 10 million valuation, their 325K will convert into another 3.25%.
Okay.
And if we raise it a 5 million valuation, that will increase to a, what is that, 6.5%?
Got it.
So it depends on the next valuation. It's basically like a pre-investment.
Got it.
A
Okay.
scalable valuation, essentially. That
Yeah,
sounds
basically.
that sounds like a good deal for both sides, I guess. I mean, they are taking the risk by giving you money, and in turn, you get to basically hire what you need to basically push through your product to the next stages. So sounds very typical. Well, not typical actually, having YC fund your project, but sounds like a fair enough play for most to be able to get funding from YC.
Yeah, it was a good call. I didn't think we were going to get the funding either. Like after our interview, I was like, man, I don't know.
Are there any tips that you would give to anyone, maybe not even just for YC, but people seeking funding in general that you learned throughout this whole process?
Yes. I learned that venture capital invests in the founders almost more so than the product. They want to know a lot about you. And
Okay.
who is the team? What is the team dynamic? What is your guys' experience? Like, who are you? Because they're very much so investing in you.
Right.
So I would say almost try and sell yourself as much as your product.
And how do you do that?
I don't know. I told them
You're just naturally awesome.
I just
Yeah.
told them my experience, what I'm doing, what I've done, and yeah, they did ask some specific questions in their interview process. Yeah, so I don't know. I honestly don't know. I just told them about myself.
Let me chime in here in regards to funding and basically trying to push a project to angel investors. Essentially, from my understanding, and tell me if this is true, Daniel, because I think this might be the case for all. But like you mentioned, they're looking to invest in the founder more so than whatever the project is, right? So basically, I've heard that almost you want to draw this sense of FOMO out of the investor. You want them to invest. You want them to feel like they have to give you money, or else they feel like they're missing out, which is already half done when you tell me that YC reached out to you in the first place. So from my experiences that I've had in wealth and in assets as a whole, I think getting VCs to feel FOMO in a sense and actually give them the urge to want to give them their money to you is the key there. It's less so about the product as we see in traditional long-term investing, and more so about who's behind it. I'm investing in the people, as you said. So I think that's a lot more different when you're trying to evaluate something like a business versus trying to evaluate someone like a person. You need to see their drive, their commitment. And when founders talk about these things, they have to, they, like you said, they know one day it will happen. That mentality is so strong in terms of being founder led, that it is just breathtakingly like intoxicating for an investor to see. They're like, okay, these guys know what they want. They know how to get there. They know that they're going to get there. And I know I'm going to get my money back in return. So I think a lot of it has to do with who you are innately, Daniel, that we've discovered in this past in this podcast so far. So I think yeah, you're a natural, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know. I will agree with you that, you know, you want them to feel FOMO for sure. And especially, like, we've gone through YC, we haven't raised any more money yet, but on our next round, trying to get that sense of FOMO, like, we, as you said, we are going here, we are going to get here with or without you. I think that's a very powerful way to look at, you know, getting venture capital. I will also say that the valuations in the venture capital market, as a long-term investor in the stock market, make no sense to me.
Yeah, I hear you.
At all.
No sense.
But
are you so I may have missed it. So they do 7%, no valuation, you said. 125K, 7%. They don't even discuss valuation?
yeah, so like you do have a valuation. So 7% for 125K works out
Right.
to about 1.8 million.
Right.
But like that's just their standard deal. Unless you're like some massive company, as far as my understanding, I honestly
Yeah.
don't know this, but like I would imagine that if you're a massive company and your valuation is already like 10 million, then it may be
Right.
different. But for like a startup at the ground floor, it's just what it is. That's their standard deal.
So whether you're at idea stage, which I believe they have invested or accepted people at least to YC at idea stage, or whether you are launching, it's still that flat $1.8 million valuation.
As far as my understanding, yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay,
That's
let's
just
put
my
a little
understanding.
disclaimer out.
Yes.
This is Daniel's understanding of YC, not official at all. Verify. Please go verify. But that would be quite interesting if that was how it works.
There's
I'm
a
pretty
sense
sure.
there's a sense of accomplishment to know that your idea is worth at least $2 million. So come up with a $2 million idea, then go to YC apparently. But you can keep trying until you actually find it, because not all ideas. You might not hit the first one, but you could hit the second one or the third one, right? And a lot of this is again really down to the personality of your founder really pushing for it. So
Yeah, I mean, think about if Elon Musk just started a startup tomorrow and was like looking for money. Like
Instant
I would
funding.
I would throw money at him because he's just Elon Musk, you know?
Well, to that point, in your interview, how much do they care about your previous business experiences? Because we talked about photography, we talked about YouTube, Patreon, and how much do they care about the product you're building today?
I honestly can't say because like you don't really get that much interaction when you're talking to investors. Like you kind of just send in your stuff, like what they ask for, you send it in, and then you get like a really quick interview, and then they might do like a second interview, and then they make the decision. So like I honestly don't really know like what was important, what they looked at, and like what went into their decision making because they haven't told us.
Yeah, just a little bit of background. I remember reading up on YC and YC for our audience. In terms of like finding funding and finding pitching, there's actually something called a pitch day, where you go, and you used to be in like an auditorium with every other, I guess, company that went through the YC bootcamp, and you would basically pitch to a room of possible investors and try and appropriate funding essentially, right? So it seems as if over probably coronavirus and restrictions and this and that and regulations and stuff, that structure might have changed, but historically it was just done in a pitch in a room, and if you were an accredited investor with enough money, you could be one of a YC investor essentially. So that's just an anecdotal understanding, guys. But from historical, I guess, content that I read up on, that's how they used to run things.
Perfect. Well, yeah. So Daniel, if you want to do one last little plug here for Stock Unlock, definitely do so now. Tell us why it's amazing, why it's so much better than everyone else. And then we have a few questions we're calling the founder framework. we're compiling a list of questions that we're going to ask every single person that we interview, and just see how the answers differ. So we'll get into that. But first, tell us one more time about your company.
All right. Thank you for that. Yeah, if you're anyone who's interested in stock analysis or learning financial and fundamental data, Stock Unlock is a great platform, and we are building out a lot of features. The next feature that we're going to be launching by the end of this week, hopefully, don't quote me on that, hopefully, is like actually using a little bit of AI to analyze a company's fundamentals and financials, to point out the red flags and show you those and explain why they're red flags, what you should take a look at next, and really just like help you learn how to actually, research companies. And we're going to be doing that for you and explaining it for you in our platform. So that's what we got coming next.
I'm using the 7-day free trial.
You're gonna put Nick and I out of business, man. We're not gonna have jobs anymore.
and where can the audience find you? Socials, Discord, YouTube?
Everything is pretty much Daniel Pronk, and Stock Unlock is just stockunlock.com.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. So with that said, we're still developing and curating this list of questions. We kind of just brain dumped everything we thought would be interesting. So we'll run through these, and this is treated like a lightning round. Like you give like a max 1 to 3 sentences in your answer. That's it. So the first one is, what is one framework or workflow that you've used that you think is most impactful to the way you work? If there is one. If there isn't, and you just do everything as it comes up, or you have a different way of approaching things, that's cool too.
One framework that I've really started using that's helped is actually planning my days the night before. So when I wake up, I'm not scrambling or doing anything. It's like when I start the day, I know what I need to get done for that day, and I can just get to work. There's no, what do I got to work on in my head or anything like that. It's just wake up, get to work, and that's really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I do that too, and it just allows you to fall asleep too. So I'm trying to remember everything for the next day either.
Yeah.
Next, who's your role model?
Ooh, role model. I would say Warren Buffett.
Ooh, let's go.
Okay. Nick likes that answer.
I do like that answer.
I like Warren Buffett because he is a philanthropist. He's like one of the richest people alive, but he keeps everything so simple, and he doesn't like focus on money. He says that you're rich if the people who you want to love you actually love you. And I love that. So
that's deep.
He's a great guy.
Next, what's going to be your last meal on Earth? Okay, what would be your last meal on Earth? Sorry. We're working on rephrasing that one.
Man, I got to think about this.
All right, I guess favorite food, essentially. Favorite food.
Got to add some drama.
Honestly, last meal on Earth, probably my girlfriend makes the best mac and cheese, like from scratch.
Okay,
it's just ridiculous.
Mac and cheese or girlfriend's mac and cheese?
Girlfriend's mac and cheese that she makes from scratch.
So girlfriend, if you're listening, you know what makes him tick.
Oh, she knows.
Oh, okay.
She knows.
All right, next question. Hustle culture, yay or nay?
No. For me, as someone with like anxiety and everything, it actually, I find I'm more productive if I can take a break, relax, and recharge.
You can't have it all, guys. You can't have it all. What is the number one skill that has helped you get to where you are today?
Not caring so much about what people think.
I would argue that is a skill. If you had a time machine to go back at any point in time of your life, would you use it to change something?
I don't know, man. I mean, things have worked. In hindsight, things have worked out pretty good. If I could go back in time, when I was young, I was an idiot with money, and I just spent money like crazy. So if I could go back in time, I would just start investing earlier.
Nice. Yeah, that seemed to have been the theme of today's podcast. Everything has worked out very well for Daniel. So, okay. If you had a magic wand, you could change literally anything about the world. What would it be?
I mean, I would really like if COVID was gone, but
that's a great answer.
That's completely fair for the season and the time.
Yeah, I'm kind of over that. But on a general, I have something where I just like really resonate, or not resonate. I just really feel passionate towards homeless people. So if we could just like end that, that'd be a great thing.
Good answer. Okay, so that kind of ties into, I guess, maybe a little bit of our next question. If you had unlimited resources and time, what would you build?
Yeah, I would probably build something to help fight homelessness and hunger around the world. I would also like to travel, but yeah.
Both valid. Both valid.
Yeah.
So, why do you do what you do?
One, I actually enjoy it. I enjoy the work that I do. It's kind of a passion of mine, and I get fired up when, I make a video or something and it resonates with a lot of people, and a lot of people take a lesson or something away from that. That really fires me up. So just helping people, educating people, sharing lessons. It's just great.
Okay, how about this? Let's make it more interesting. If you
Okay.
could leave a fortune cookie for your teenager self, what would it say?
Okay, well, when I was a teenager, I had like no self-confidence at all. So I would say be more confident and just believe in yourself sooner.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel. You've been a phenomenal guest. I think you tied that last question up quite well, and it resonates with who you are as a person. I think your personality really shined through today, and it was a pleasure talking.
Yeah, you guys as well. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
It's been fun.
Thanks, Daniel. Everyone go check out Stock and Lock and his YouTube channel, Daniel Pronk, and everything else, everywhere you can find him. Thank you so much for watching Founder Framework, and we'll see you in the next one.